Hey everybody, Chris here, and welcome to this week's episode. Let's start with this off with a couple of things. One, we're a day late this week. I apologize for that, but there were some hiccups with the betting schedule yesterday. Quite frankly, only something like 16 college basketball games, and today's just much more interesting. Also, elephant in the room, it is NBA All-Star Weekend. If you do want to wager on that, I personally am not interested in it just because it comes down to which team is more interested on any given day. I would say go with Team LeBron minus 5.5, and I'm using all of these odds from bovadasportsbook.com. I would say go with Team LeBron minus 5.5. It's a better roster, and more importantly, they've got Giannis Antetokounmpo on it, who is very much an all-star game try-hard. When in these games you tend to have people loafing. Giannis plays hard. Giannis wants to impress on that biggest stage. So go with Team LeBron if you have to put money on it, and also go with the over in an NBA All-Star game. Always a fairly safe bet. But what we're going to do today, I really want to talk about top 25 college basketball action. Some games starting in the next hour or so, actually. And the first one that I want to get to as we scroll through here, excuse me for that 1 second, because I wanted to have the All-Star Game odds open. But the first thing we want to talk about is Auburn and Florida. You've got Auburn plus 4.5 here. This is interesting, right? Because Auburn 24-2. This is the number 2 team in the country, and this Florida Gators team, they're fine. You know, they're 6-7 in conference in the SEC. They're 16-10 overall. They're an okay basketball team. They're not good. They're not bad. Auburn led by potential top 3 pick. You know, a lot of people say potential number 1 overall pick. I don't know if I buy into all of that, but potential top 3 pick Jabari Smith. Smith averaging 15.8 points, 6.7 rebounds a game this year. Really a unique shooter for such a big guy. Reminds me of Rashard Lewis. You know, I think people want to really glorify prospects and suggest that they're going to be more than they are. I think he's going to be Rashard Lewis. There's nothing wrong with that. Rashard Lewis was a very good, very interesting NBA player for a long time, but at the end of the day, a complimentary guy and not a guy who leads his own team. If we're looking at number 1 overall picks, and I don't think there are odds up on that for the NBA draft yet. I'm a Chet guy. I'm a Chet Holmgren guy. I think what he does is incredibly unique. And the most important thing, while an incredibly thin frame right now, he's already put a little weight on. And past that, he competes. He competes defensively. None of that is super important for this game, though. So Auburn led by Jabari Smith. Florida is led by Colin Castleton, 15.5 points, 9.5 rebounds a game so far this season for the senior big man. They can't compete with Auburn. There's just no two ways about it. As this reloaded here on me, they can't compete with Auburn, and that's where I land. I think 75% of the money on ESPN is going to the spread consensus is going towards Florida. Pardon me, Auburn. The one thing that does give me a little bit of pause, I think. Auburn, as an away team, the record's 3-5 against the spread. As a favorite, they're 7-6-1. Wow, 17-6-1. But as an away favorite, Auburn is only 2-5. As a home dog, Florida is 1-0, and they're 2-2 as an underdog, 8-6 as the home team. This is really interesting. Auburn also has Big Walker Kessler, one of the best defensive players and a unique shot blocker. Probably limits what you get out of Castleton. So that comes to, do we like the line or do we like something else here? And for me, it is the something else here. Bovada has the over-under at 139.5. Auburn averages 80.5 points per game. Florida averages 70 points per game. Auburn's a pretty good defensive team, and that's going to limit Florida a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to not knock the over on this game. So our first pick this week is going to be the over on the Auburn and Florida game. And, I feel pretty good with that. We're going to look for a couple of regular picks. We're going to hit a bunch of money lines. You know how we do it. If you paid attention, we almost hit last week. We 6-8, not 6-4-8, not bad, and made some money on the Super Bowl. And I hope you guys did too. I really do. Our next game is going to be Tennessee and Arkansas right here at 4:00 today. The line at Bovada is Arkansas -2.5 at home. So, the matchup predictor does suggest Tennessee here. That's interesting. Is this a money line opportunity? It might just be. And Tennessee also, worth pointing out, the number 16 team versus Arkansas's 23. Tennessee's best player, Kennedy Chandler, the freshman guard, averaging 13.3 points and 4.9 assists a game. Maybe the best pure point guard in the draft class this year, even if you're a little bit concerned whether or not his long-distance shooting, only 33.3%, is going to translate. But a fascinating player nonetheless. For Arkansas, senior guard J.D. Note, their best player, 18.8 a game, 4.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Just a solid overall player for them. Now, when we go here to when we see the spread consensus, we are seeing 61% towards Arkansas here. I don't know that I agree. I think this is a money line opportunity. I think this is a chance for us to stack some picks this week. As a favorite on the road, Tennessee is 6-2. As a home favorite, Arkansas is 9-6. Man, this is interesting. I really do think this is our money-making opportunity for the week. We're going to go with the higher-ranked team, and we're going to take points on the money line at plus 120 for this. And after two picks, our parlay already sitting at plus 320. There are 10 top 25 games that we've got on the schedule. So this is going to be 8 plus a couple of bonus picks. But those bonus picks, I think that's probably going to be Villanova and Gonzaga, where these are gigantic lines that I don't feel super comfortable with. But we'll get to those when we get there. Up next, Murray State against UT Martin as we scroll down here a little bit. Again, a big line here. UT Martin is a plus 17 at home. Murray State 25-2, 15-0 in conference in the OVC. UT Martin 8-19, 4-11 in conference. Their best player is forward KJ Williams, solid player. And Murray State just got too much. They've also got a really good guard whose name is escaping me right now. But when we go to UT Martin, their best player, KJ Simon, a little 6'3 guard from Orlando, 16.3, 4.7, 1.7 assists. UT Martin doesn't have the firepower to stay with Murray State. 73% going Murray State. But we're talking about, I don't feel comfortable with these giant lines. Murray State does score 80.4 points per game to UT Martin 69. As an away favorite, Murray State is sub 500. They're 3-4, and UT Martin as a home dog 3-3. It just screams that the line is too big for me here. So do we like the over-under? This might be an under opportunity. These two teams combine 149 points a game, but I would have to think that Murray State is going to put the clamps on UT Martin a little bit here. I like the under. Betting on unders is kind of boring, but the under here is 141.5. We're going to take the under just because I would probably, in a normal situation, just take the minus 2,000, take a couple extra bucks for free. But, we see here it's $40. It brings it up to from a plus 702 to a plus 742. And, by the way, I'm talking about we are live on Twitch. So feel free to hit us up in the chat if you haven't seen the show before. Like, subscribe. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow me at Chris Horwedel on Twitter. All that information in the show notes, of course. Our next game is going to be the Iowa Hawkeyes and Ohio State Buckeyes. This is the game that I've really been looking forward to today because it's got one of the best matchups of the day as we scroll down to this. Bovada has Ohio State -5 at home. Probably fair, but the matchup is Keegan Murray versus E.J. Liddell. Murray, a guy who came out of nowhere, a good player last year on a very good Iowa team. Now he's a star on an okay Iowa team. And Liddell is just a guy who's worked himself into being an NBA prospect. 19.9 points per game this year, 7.6 rebounds. He's shooting the ball pretty well from three. I don't know how sustainable that is. Both of them are NBA fours, I would guess, or smaller NBA fours in a modern day NBA. Both probably first round picks. Murray's going to flirt with the lottery. People like Keegan Murray more than I do. I'm not 100% sure what he is at the next level just because I don't see that one unique trait. I think he's good at a lot of things. I think he's going to be, I don't want, it's sacrilegious, but I don't see star quality in him, I guess. I think this is a really good player. This is a glue guy who's going to help teams. Like a San Antonio Spurs kind of player to me. But, so, Ohio State -5. A lot of the spread consensus going 66% to the matchup predictors, 66% to Ohio State. We talked about Murray, 23.3, 8.4 rebounds, 1.1 assists, shooting 36.7% from three, only 72.7 from the foul line, but he blocks shots, 2.1 a game, gets steals, 1.4 a game. Good overall basketball player. Liddell, same thing, very similar stats, only shooting a little bit better from three. Liddell, in 30 minutes, is scoring 19.9 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, 2.9 assists. And he's all the way up to 40% from three. That's almost a 7% jump from last year. Shooting 75 from the line, 2.9 assists, 2.5 blocks, and half a steal a game. Just a do-it-all forward who's going to help somebody. And as a junior, probably comes out this year would be my guess. With the size limitations, I don't know how much better his stock is going to get unless he wants to potentially compete for National Player of the Year next season. So spread consensus is going 66% to Ohio State. On the season, Iowa's 14-11, Ohio State 12-10. Last five, Iowa's 5-5. Ohio State has kicked it up a little bit, 7-3. As the home team, Ohio State's 7-4. As the home favorite, they're 6-4. As an away team, Iowa State here 4-4, and as an away dog 2-1. So covering a lot. This is a comfortable game where I think because of where these numbers are, there's no reason not to just play it safe and go Ohio State money line here, because that will help our parlay pick, which after making that rises all the way up to plus 1,050 from mid sevens. So our next game we're going to talk about is one of those two games that I was just saying I'm not comfortable with because of how big these lines are. And also this one's an interesting one. This one might be, you might be an opportunity to steal some points on Santa Clara, but I just don't feel comfortable with that. Number one team in the country, Gonzaga Bulldogs, 22-2, 11-0 in the West Coast Conference. And Santa Clara is a good team. They're 18-9. They're 8-4 in conference. They're the third best team in the WCC. It's at 8-4. 8-4 in conference, 18-9 overall, obviously. 22 points for this line. 22 points, plus 22 to Santa Clara. Now, 81% spread consensus is going Gonzaga. They score a ton of points, and I think that is where the problem is going to lie for Santa Clara, who there's just, frankly, there's no team in the country, with the possible exception of Auburn, that can match up with the front court of Drew Timme and Chet Holmgren. If you're going to throw somebody at it, I guess Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith is your best shot, but don't feel good about this. I'm going to take a couple of points here. Gonzaga they're minus 5,000 on the money line here. The over-under is 163.5, which is a high over-under. I'm gonna take 23 added to our parlay here with the Gonzaga minus 5,000, pushing us up to plus 1,073 after these handful of games. The next game is the other one that I'm not comfortable with today for similar reasons to the Gonzaga game, and that is the Villanova Wildcats versus the Georgetown Hoyas. Just another gigantic line, although I'm having a hard time finding it here on Bovada. Villanova is the number 10 team in the country, 20-6, 13-3 in conference. And I wonder if this line... Oh, here we are. This is a Villanova minus 20 line. At Bovada end, it was right under the Santa Clara Gonzaga game, which is great. Matchup predictor, 98.8% to Villanova. Their best player is last year's Big East Conference co-player of the year, Colin Gillespie. Not having quite the season maybe people hoped as he came back from with the pandemic, a little cushion year, whatever. 16.8 points per game. He just doesn't miss foul shots, but Georgetown doesn't have much to throw at it. Aminu Mohammed's probably their best player. Is an interesting player, a freshman, 6'5", really well built, but he's got a lot of growing to do before he's going to be able to compete at that level. The spread consensus 76% to Villanova. Line is just so big. Villanova has been, as home favorite, they're 7-4. As an away dog, Georgetown is 3-14-1. It's just a matter of, do we feel comfortable about 20 points? No, just take free money. Take Villanova minus 3,800 on the money line, and that does push our parlay up plus 1,100. Next game, Air Force and Wyoming. Find that here. Right there. All right, so we have Wyoming minus 16 at Bovada. Matchup predictor, 96.6% going to the number 22 ranked Wyoming Cowboys. As I said, 21-4, 10-2 in conference. Air Force minus 5, sub 500, 10-24, 3-10 in the conference. Really, just a bad basketball team, one of the worst teams in the Mountain West this season. For Wyoming, for me, it begins and ends with Graham Ike. The sophomore big guy has been a force for them this season. 20.8 points, 9.3 rebounds a game, and I would think a real contender for Player of the Year in the Mountain West. For Air Force, take your pick of a couple of good basketball players. They don't really have a great basketball player on that roster. I would say Ethan Taylor's probably their guy, the 6'5 freshman, 9.3 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.3 assists. Shoots the ball pretty well, but he would be the 6th or 7th best player on that Wyoming team. The spread consensus is interesting. 53% going to Wyoming, 47 to Air Force. So a lot closer than you would think here, which, I'm not a glutton for punishment. I don't need to go that hard if the numbers aren't there. So I'm just going to take free money. Wyoming probably wins this game pretty easily. but I don't know that they cover the 16. I also don't know that the 132 hits on the over. It's going to be around there, which makes me stay away from that. Another free money game. We'll take Wyoming here minus 1,700. Boring, but hey, boring gets you paid in a lot of cases. Next game, the Oregon Ducks versus the Arizona Wildcats, number 3 in the country, Arizona Wildcats. Bovada has Arizona minus 13 to start this game. The Wildcats are 23-2, 13-1 in conference versus Oregon's 17-9, 10-5 in conference for the unrated Ducks. For Arizona, the guy is Benedict Mathurin. He's a lottery pick, probably a top 8 pick in the draft. Reminds me of Terrence Ross. I don't think the defense is going to translate to the NBA level as well as some other people do, but he's a big, bouncy guard who shoots the 3 really, really well. One of the better shooters in this class. He's a guy you're going to want if you're an NBA 2K fan when your team's moving forward. Much like Terrence Ross, if you can jump and you can shoot threes, you've got value in that game. For Oregon, Will Richardson is an incredibly solid player. The senior guard, 6'5", 180, 15 points a game, 3.3 rebounds, 3.5 assists. But not really a needle mover in this game. Spread consensus is 70% going to Oregon. Oregon is 2-0 as an away dog, and Arizona is 7-6-1 as a home favorite. Makes you wonder when you see the spread consensus 70% going to Oregon. So is that plus 13 too high right here? This is one of the really interesting ones. Do we gamble and bring this plus 1,100 up with the minus 110, or do we just take the win, Arizona money line? I think we're gonna take Oregon with the points here, and that's gonna bring us from 11.66 to 23 plus 23.16 at Bovada. Look, it's money. $100 wins 2,300. There's nothing wrong with that. Next up, Washington and UCLA. Let's see where that game is, right here. Washington plus 17 on the road, 13-1 on the season, 8-6 in conference. UCLA, number 13 team in the country, are 18-5 overall, 10-4 in conference. 96.7% matchup predictor going to UCLA. For Washington, their best player, probably Terrell Brown Jr., the senior 6'3" guard from Seattle, Washington, averaging 22.2 points, 4.1 rebounds, 4.4 assists a game. Really good basketball player. The only issue is just not much of a three-point shooter, only shooting 22% for the season, which is going to, limit his potential at the next level. Also, kind of weird where he only averaged 7.3 last year after 20.7 the year prior. Look, you wonder about these things. For UCLA, their best player, Johnny Juzang, the Kentucky transfer, 17.6 points per game, but you also have Jamie Joaquez, you have Tiger Campbell, Cody Riley. It's a good UCLA roster, and the freshman Peyton Watson. The spread predictor is going 59% to Washington on that plus 17. This is where it gets interesting. Washington averaging 70.7 points per game, UCLA 77.1. The over-under here at Bovada is sitting at plus 140.5. I think we're going to grab. I didn't expect to make this many picks. I thought we'd hit on more money lines, but I like the over here. I really like the over here, and that is really going to do wonders for our line, which goes from in the 2s to now plus 45.13 as we head into our last game here. The Florida State Seminoles versus the Duke Blue Devils, number 9 in the country. Duke 22-4 on the season, 12-3 in conference. Florida State 14-11, 7-8 in conference. Matchup predictor, as you would imagine, 93.8% for Duke. Duke is led and a really good group of players that also includes Trevor Keels and AJ Griffin, who might be a top 5 pick, and Wendell Moore Jr. But they are led by Paolo Banchero, potential top 3 pick for me. I don't know, I think he's number 2 or 3. He's definitely not 1. We talked about that earlier. The freshman averaging 16.9 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 2.8 assists. Like to see those rebound numbers come up for him. I think he fancies himself a little bit too much of a do-it-all forward. But that's neither here nor there for this. He's going to have no problem dominating this matchup against Florida State. Their best player, probably sophomore guard Caleb Mills, 12.7 points per game, 2.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists. So the spread consensus, Duke going 62%. This is one where I like a lot of the picks we've made. I don't know that we need to add too much more here. So I want to just hit, since I don't feel super confident on the line or the over-under, I'm just going to take the Duke money line plus 1,500. And that, for the day, is going to bring our college basketball version of In Pursuit of a Parlay up to a plus 48.20. We're going to go ahead, place that wager, and feel good about it, quite frankly. That's how much I believe in the picks that we're making. Last week, we just missed. We just missed on that Rams pick. We just missed on we had Rams -4. It was Rams -3 in the Super Bowl. This one feels good. This one feels really good. I think we've got a chance to take some money home. So, if you're confident, put a few shekels down yourself if you're so inclined. Again, if this is the first time you've listened to the show, thank you for making it all the way through. Hit the like button, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, In Pursuit of a Parlay. Check out our other shows at Underdog Podcasts at underdogpodcast.com. I've been Chris Horwedel at Chris Horwedel on Twitter. Follow me, the link below in the show description. And follow Underdog Podcasts at the Underdog Pods. For this week's episode of In Pursuit of a Parlay, I've been Chris Horwedel. Thank you for listening, and we will see you back here next time.